Hello everyone, this is Danny Pasula, and he's going to give you an explanation on his Blue Eyes-Hieratic deck.
Okay, so for those of you who know what Hieratics are, I don't need to explain what they do. But for who don't know what they do, they are really fast at getting each other out, and also really fast at getting out normal dragons. So for the consideration of their speed, I run 3 Blue Eyes-Red Dragons. The only bad thing about it is their attacks go down to 0-0, so you need to do stuff with them really fast. So Hieratics are good for that. The only Hieratics I run are the ones that can be easily summoned out, and then when they're tributed, their effects come in to bring out Blue Eyes. I run 3 Esets because he's an easy normal summon, doesn't require anything. And I also run 2 Tefnuits because if my opponent controls a monster, he's an easy summon. And then I also run 2 Sus because he can be special summoned by tributing a Hieratic. So all these are the best ones, I would say, for, using in Blue Eyes. I use a lot of other monsters for support. Like I run 2 Mirage Dragons to kind of stop trap cards as kind of like a little defense for Blue Eyes. For any dragon deck, you'll need Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Oh, I'm sorry, to the side. You'll need Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon because he's really good at special summoning them. Because either one way or the other, Blue Eyes is going to end up in the graveyard, so he's really good at bringing them back with their original attacks. Kaiser Sea Horse is a good beat stick, as well as he can be tributed for 2. Most of you don't know that, but that's the reason I run him. Eyes-Hieratic Dragon is just a good beat stick support, and he's also good for getting out Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, or being tributed for a different Hieratic Dragon. I don't know. I like him. One really good speed card is the White Stone of Legend, because whenever it's sent to the graveyard in general, I get to grab a Blue Eyes-Red Dragon to my hand, and that's always good. And then I run 1 King of the Swamp. I sometimes hold 2, but most of the time I just run 1 because he's sometimes a dead draw, and usually I don't need him. One purpose I also use for this deck is fusing, because Blue Eyes by themselves aren't the best sometimes. So that's why you need to fuse, and that's one good reason for the Hieratics. I also run 1 Lord of D, because in a 45 card deck, and he's not that strong, so he's not very good defense, but he's good for kind of helping Blue Eyes out, and any other dragon for that matter. 1 Cabin Man, because he could end up as a dead draw too if you don't get any Blue Eyes in your hand. But if you have Blue Eyes and him in your hand at the same time, he's really great. It takes up a normal summon, but that's perfectly fine. And then Axe Dragonute is for the same purpose as Eyes-Hieratic Dragon. Then I also run an extra deck. The main purpose is to get out either one of these. These are like my main purpose of this deck, and that's one good reason for getting out their speed. And then as a last resort, I grab the 5-headed dragon, which is really good beat stick and can't be destroyed by practically anything. Another X seeds I use are Utopia. Queen Dragoon is really great because I can easily grab Blue Eyes-Red Dragon from the graveyard. Just plain and simple. And then I run 2 Heliopolises, because if you have Hieratics in your hand, as well as, a Blue Eyes attached to it, as well as Blue Eyes-White Dragon attached to it, then you can easily just, tribute this to get rid of, to, tribute it and keep bringing them back and whatnot. Some spell cards I run for draw power, Duality. Not the best one, but I like it. I think it works great. Swords of Revealing Light is really good for kind of just stopping your opponent, because sometimes you'll need to stall a little bit. Dark Hole is really great because it stops my opponent from hurting me, because sometimes it'll hurt bad if I don't have anything, and they do. Or sometimes I use that to just send monsters to the graveyard. I run 2 Hieratic Seals because that's all you can run. This is really great for grabbing Hieratics, and I love that card. Dragonic Tactics is really great for tributing 2 Hieratics, because then you grab 1 Blue Eyes from your deck, and then you grab 2 more. So that's almost instant Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in 1 turn. Card Destruction is also really good draw power, because, and if you have a really bad hand, use this, grab a new one, and sometimes it also stops your opponent. Really great draw power. I run 2 Polys. Sometimes it could be a dead draw, but I also have cards for grabbing them. And if I ever need one, it's there, and there's never a duel I go without drawing one. Super Rejuve is really great because I usually discard or tribute dragons very much in this deck, so this is a really good draw card too. Dragon's Mirror is another really good card you should run in any fusion dragon deck because you're fusing for monsters from your graveyard. You can't go wrong with that. And then Monster Reborn, self-explanatory. And then Mystical Space Typhoon, also self-explanatory. And then for my traps, I run a variety of filler traps like Bottomless, Magic Jammer, Magic Cylinder, Call of the Haunted, Dust Tornado, 7 Tools, Fiendish, Threatening Roar. Those are my staples. Now, as for the kind of individual trap cards that are kind of meant a little bit for this deck, I run Virus Cannon, because that is really good for tributing Hieratics as well. Or just tributing and sending to the graveyard in general, that's just really good defender. And then Soul Rope. Typically a monster, or if you just have a Blue Eyes with 0 attack and 0 defense, he's going to get destroyed. So that's really good for just grabbing a level 4 monster from your deck. And then the best one is Dragon's Rebirth. I banish any dragon for 1 dragon from my hand or graveyard. Now, as for my side deck, sometimes I like to go with a different method and run the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. But for this, I usually always take out the Master Dragon Knight because he's hard to get out. And then I run a Nebthet because he can destroy monsters, unlike Su, and his effect is practically the same, so that's why I don't throw him in there. And then Newt. He is a really good beat stick as well as just instant summon, but his effect only works if he's targeted by a spell or a trap or effect, so he's just kind of iffy. I also run a second King of the Swamp, just in case I decide to run 2, so that he's not a dead draw. Sometimes my life points will get a little low, so I like to run a Megamorph, but I don't always run that. And speaking of the fact that Blue Eyes is the main card of the deck, and he's a normal, I also run Dark Factory at Mass Production. And then sometimes, if I have Lord of D, I might just think about running the Flute, a Summoning Dragon, because that's a really good draw power for the deck. And then I also run a Double Summon, because Summoning Power, you just can't go wrong with it. And then, speaking of the fact that it's a Blue Eyes deck, I run the Burst Stream of Destruction. You know, really good for just wiping out your opponent's field. The only problem is, it's a dead draw if I don't have Blue Eyes out on the field. But if I do, it works great, so it's kind of an iffy, I just throw it in there. Stampeding Destruction, you know, if I have any dragon on the field, I can destroy a spell or trap. I only run 1, though, just in case. I also run a Fusion Sage in my side deck, just in case I decide to really hammer on the fusing. But the only problem is, it's practically like having a Polymerization in your hand anyway. And then Ultimate Offering for summoning power, but be careful with it. Self-explanatory. Dragon's Rage is really good for piercing damage with dragons. Sometimes if I like to go a little aggressive with the dragon deck, this is what I'll use. And then for bringing back my Banish, because of Dragon's Mirror, I like to use Return from a Different Dimension. Pay high for life points, but you get all your monsters back, and sometimes that's all you'll ever need. The reason I decided to run this deck is because the Blue Eyes White Dragon has been my favorite monster since the game even came out. And I know he's really slow, and that's why I decided to run Hieratics in the deck, so I can really speed him up. But this is my favorite card, and this is my favorite personal deck, and that's the reason why I decided to run it.
Why, or what are your thoughts on the Blue Eyes structure that's coming out here pretty soon?
I am thrilled about the idea. Whenever I heard about the Dragons Collide deck, I was thrilled about that too. But now that there's a Blue Eyes structure deck, I am thrilled about it, and I am psyched to see it, and I'm going to get it the day it comes out.